Tonight on Debate Amongst Friends, NBA Finals recap. We got a new champion! We got a new champion! And I don't mean B Rabbit. We'll also go over the legacies of both Kevin Durant and LeBron James, as well as a WWE discussion and debate, including John Cena, the passing of the torch, and burying talent and more, starting now.
Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome to Debates Among Friends, episode 58 on June 14, 2017. We're so happy you decided to join us on this Wednesday evening. I am your host, the Professor John Gotti. And always by my side, is he the meanest? Doc Ocean. Is he the prettiest? Doc Ocean. Is he the baddest mofo to ever touch the microphone on a podcast? Doc Ocean, he can't hear you. Doc Ocean, how you doing tonight, sir?
Yeah. Now I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm hype. The hype train is real, and I can't wait to get some discussions about the basketball games of the association.
You were a little overhyped. You were a little overhyped. Not even gonna lie to you.
We can't do this without help, and we got ourselves one of the best. The analyst himself, our B-ball guru. We got Q-Mart in the house tonight. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Feeling good, looking good, all of the above.
Man.
Nice.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to talk about this. I'm ready to talk about these finals. So if
can I just tell you how excited this guy was? Can I just tell you how excited this guy was to watch the last 6 minutes of this game?
I mean, so first of all, it was an exciting last 6 minutes. Let me be unbiased for a second, and let me just say it was highly exciting. A lot of, tension and drama there. Cleveland definitely, threw their punches like George Foreman against Ali. Unfortunately, KD and the Warriors were just too pretty, and they managed to hold it out in the end. I mean, giving massive kudos to the Cavaliers for winning a game. They obviously did get out-coached. I got nothing much more to say as far as the unbiased portion. But make sure you go out to teesprings.com and pick up your hashtag Professor Got Reads t-shirt, because the professor had reads. I said 5 games. And by dong it was 5 games.
But who was going to go down like that? I mean, it really should have went 6, though. Can we be honest? It should have went 6, like I said. I wish you would have went to Teesprings and bought Doc Got Reads, because there's no way the Cavs should have lost that game 3. I mean, come on, bro. There's no way they should have lost that game. But that's where the coaching came in, as well as just the offensive prowl of the Warriors. And I mean, I guess for Q-Mart, I guess the question I'll ask, and a lot of the people are asking, what the heck did we just see?
I think we just saw the new age NBA. You're seeing hybrid players. That lineup they throw out when they sub out Zaza for Iggy, and you have 5 guys that can handle the ball. We made the modern day center irrelevant and changed the dynamic of the game and how the game is played. But I think that from a coaching standpoint, it's not hard to outcoach Tyronn Lue, because he's not a phenomenal coach. If we're ranking coaches, he's a middle of the pack coach.
True.
Just is what it is. And I don't think it was coaching thing. I think it's just you have a better team versus a team that can play up to that level, but because they won the chip the year before, sometimes that does more damage than good. And I think you saw a Cleveland team that was cocky all year long, never was healthy, got in the playoffs and got some favorable matchups, so it made them feel good, and they just didn't train hard enough. I think it's like a boxer who was a champion. You know, I guess I'll coin it to Rocky when Rocky was the champion and Clubber Lang came and beat him up. And, you know, you just didn't train hard enough. I think Cleveland could take them to 7 games. They had so many mistakes from a mental standpoint I saw, and it wasn't coaching. It's hard to motivate millionaires. When I see Kevin Love hedge a screen under the 3-point line on Stephen Curry, that's not coaching. Yeah. That's just Kevin Love being stupid.
Right, you know that.
And so when you take all those mistakes and possessions, I watch a game, they're down 8, but if Cleveland's not turning the ball over, and they're not being forced to, but just making bad plays or taking bad shots, they should be up 8. So in that game 3, that shouldn't be a game. They should be up 14-15 with 3 or 4 minutes left, and it shouldn't be that close.
Absolutely.
Even in the blowouts, you know, if you change some of the possessions and they play a little better, if JR takes his head out of his ass and plays the way he played the last 2 games,
absolutely.
Well, you know, I mean, the series is different. I think they got punched in the mouth the first 2 games, and game 3 was deflating, and game 4 is for their pride, and you get a Warrior team that just is one of the better top-heavy teams we've seen in a long time, and you know, it's a 5-game series, but I don't think that's indication or an indictment on the league.
Right. Now let me ask you this, because I don't know if you saw the debate that I was having online. It was probably a 60-comment debate with one person who was supposed to be on the show, but he also had Discord issues. We'll reach out to Discord and see what the heck is going on. But
got to yell at Chris some more.
Absolutely, but it could be Discord on this, so we'll hold off on Chris. But Chris, he's on my radar too.
Terrible.
The one thing I'll say is also we had a debate. 2 things came up. Number one, the first thing that came up was some people felt like David West deserved to be ejected from the game. Of course, LeBron and Maniacs, as the Professor John Gotti pointed out, would say that. What did you see in that play? Because I saw one technical and then had other guys not came into the picture, we wouldn't even be talking about a double technical. That's the way I saw it.
It's not even that big of a play. David West plays 12 minutes a game. Who cares if he gets thrown out?
And that's kind of where I was at the same time. But of course, when you're arguing with a LeBron maniac, it's always a big deal.
I think that not even LeBron, just social media makes things bigger than they have to be because it gives every Herb who never came outside as a kid a voice. Uh-oh. And so when you start giving people like that voices, it just turns into people giving you hot takes and not real factual things. Like David West getting thrown out, cool, he's thrown out, all right. So he doesn't play 11 minutes that he plays, and they put in JaVale McGee or they give McCraw a couple extra minutes.
Oh, McCraw.
You know, I mean, it doesn't really shift. You know, had that play been Draymond or somebody who matters to the series, and then it's something to talk about because that shifts the game or it shifts the balance of power. But I could care less about David West. The guy took like $11 million pay cut just to win a championship. Good for him.
Yes.
Because the NBA right now is in the championships don't matter era because there's too much money floating around.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It meant to him. I'm not going to lie. I'm not taking a $10 million pay cut for a championship ring. At the end of the day, $10 million is too sexy to be remembered as the 11th man on a championship team. Like, no one's going to remember David West on that team. No one's going to go, yeah, David West really contributed to that championship.
Agreed.
You know, so from that level, it's just kind of like, who cares?
No, you know, and I know we're going to get into legacies a little, but this idea of super team is also thrown out. And me and John Gotti, we always talk about this. And John Gotti, please throw in your 2 cents on this particular topic because I feel like this is one that's floating around now. With the way the Warriors were built, and just think about the way the Warriors were built. Were they a super team before Kevin Durant got there?
I don't know. I think that because you have guys like Harrison Barnes, Bogut, Barbosa, different dudes on the team who did different things. I mean, they could be a super team if you count chemistry. If we're just counting top level players, all right, you have Clay and Steph. I think Draymond's a top 30 player in the NBA.
He is.
I don't think he's a top 15 player or anything like that. So I think they had two really high level players and it's a bunch of guys who complement each other really, really well. But I don't. What are you gonna say?
So when you add Durant, basically you're saying now they just had a big three, a top 30 guy, and then a bunch of. And think about it, they got rid of those other guys that you mentioned.
Yeah.
They made a big sacrifice.
Their roster basically, shredded itself after last year's finals. Then that's what people don't see.
I don't think what they did was bad. I think that what most teams don't do, and what they do is they lean on the side of the play development. I watch Ian Clark play for Utah and get minutes and play well in the minutes he played in Utah. And then I watched him sign with the Warriors. I watched him play in the Summer League, and I watched him get extremely better throughout his time being with the Warriors because he's guarding and playing against Steph and Clay every day. You watch their young guys, like a McCraw guy, they got some mileage out of him, who got better throughout the year, who can defend. They're able to coach up JaVale McGee. I mean, certainly they were able to develop guys, and you can't really knock them for being able to develop guys and then keep guys like a Sean Livingston and Iggy. Sean Livingston and Iggy are way more valuable off the bench than having Harrison Barnes and Bogut, because those guys are kind of typecast. Like Bogut's only the center for 18 minutes a game, and Harrison Barnes just isn't a big game player. So you got rid of 4 okay-ish guys for the second best player in the world. That's not that's an upgrade. No, I don't think super teams are what the big deal is about because we've seen super teams before. The Celtics had 5 Hall of Famers. The Lakers had 5 Hall of Famers. The Lakers strung out Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Bob McAdoo, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, this isn't anything new to the NBA. From 1980 or 1980 to 2005 or something like that, there was like 7 different champions.
Yep.
So the league's seen super teams. The league didn't have social media for people to be correspondents about what their opinion is. So there's no social media in the 80s and 90s where people could just blurt out whatever they want to blurt out.
Yes, it just stayed in barbershops as just barbershop talk.
But absolutely. I mean, that 30 for 30 series, when you look at that, the Celtics versus the Lakers, you got 12 Hall of Famers on the court. I mean, if you go back to the early 80s, right, when they had Bill Walton and other guys come to the bench, I mean, all those teams are stacked. Yeah, Michael Cooper, Michael Thompson, Byron Scott, Rambis. I mean, Rambis was averaging 22 and like 12 at Santa Clara when he came in the NBA. So you're adding an All-American 6'10" guy to your bench who probably could score 20 or 18 when he came in the league, but he's playing for the Lakers. So it's like, those teams are stacked. I mean, probably better than the Warriors as a whole if we're comparing resumes.
Well, and then I think Worthy was actually on ESPN talking about how he felt like he would love to have at least one game or one series with this Warriors team because he believes that they could beat them. And honestly, I believe they might be able to beat them as well. Number one,
but what era of officiating are you using?
And that's always the caveat when these discussions, though.
But you can't, and that's the thing, you can't bring that up to certain people. And we had this conversation. I actually when I was arguing yesterday about my second topic, which we can go over leading towards our next topics of legacies, but with this particular situation, I said that yesterday to somebody, and he said, really say that because you can take somebody from that era and put them in this era and they wouldn't be good, and vice versa. And I'm like, sure, but the officiating, there is no way that certain people would have made it, and vice versa.
If we're being 100% honest, half the league in 1995 couldn't play right now. Like, there's no way Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, Dale Ellis, Dale Davis, You know, because to be a 4-man now, you need to be able to shoot, and those guys can't shoot or stretch the floor.
Right.
And so when discussing officiating, it's like, all right, well, it's different. James Worthy will eat in this era because you can't touch anybody, and he's a 6'9" physical small forward / power forward.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you look at people's games and how they translate, and also who they're playing with. Like I always tell people, I'm like, yo, people say Steph can't play in the A's era, and I would ask whose team is he on? Is this the same team that you have with him and Durant in them? Or if you replace Steph with Isaiah Thomas, now Steph has 5 or 6 goons to protect him. So you put Steph on the Pistons, he has Dennis Rodman, Rick Mahorn, John Sally, Bill Laimbeer, Mark McGuire, setting screens for him. I think he can still get some open threes. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, what team are they playing on? Because not only is it the era, but who's around you. Because if you're putting guys on teams like they have now, okay, we're gonna take the Warriors and put them versus the Lakers. Well, that just comes down to, are we playing the '80s rules where we watched Kevin McHale clothesline Rambis, and that was a regular foul? That wasn't like in the NBA today. That's a 20-game suspension.
So they're tapping foreheads out there, and it's getting flagrant call.
So you know what I mean?
Well, I mean that's because LeBron James is the greatest Academy Award winning actor in the history of the NBA. I mean, and that's saying it as a huge Reggie Miller fan. But
that's the league rewarding that play. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to take anything away from anybody being competitive. Like James Harden does it all the time.
And that's what I told him yesterday.
If you're going to reward me for that kind of play, why wouldn't I do it? Honor means nothing. People kind of have this weird thing where you're supposed to like honor stuff. Ain't no honor in competition. If we're really competing, I'm going to do whatever it takes to beat you, right? Like I want the Larry Bird guy. I want the guy who's going to do something dirty on my team. Because that means he really wants to win.
Right.
Because between them lines, we're not friends. We can be friends the rest of the time after the game. But in that game, I don't mind a Dennis Rodman guy on my team, right? Anybody who's like that, you'd rather have him on your team than against you. I'd rather have a Dennis Rodman guy punch somebody in the nuts. I want to win. I don't care about your feelings at that moment.
And I'm so glad that you said that, too, because that was one of my main arguments, when it comes to just the competitive spirit,
Yeah,
we're all basketball players. Like, we want to beat the best. We don't care about being friends, blah, blah, blah. That's one of the things that they held against KD back in 2012. But, like, we want to beat the best. Like, we don't care how we get there. We don't care, what little gray lines we have to cross to get there, but we want to win. It doesn't matter. Afterwards, we can hang out. We can go to a club, have a taco together maybe. I don't know. Who cares? But
you play to win the game.
But for that 2 hours while we're on the court,
exactly.
You're my enemy. Like, I don't care. I hope you tear ACL or something like that. Anything that bad that happens to you that gives me a leg up, I'm totally fine with it.
I know I heard the buzzer there, but I guess that's why most people are okay with the way Draymond plays as well as the way Zaza Pachulia plays. Because, although a lot of it sometimes in fast motion looks regular and okay, in slow motion, it always looks dirty.
The only problem I have with the way Draymond and Zaza play is that in this NBA, if you punch them in the mouth, you get suspended 15 games. Right. Whereas if Zaza pulled that stuff in the 80s and a Moses Malone type guy, he would beat the living crap out of Zaza Pachulia and maybe get a 1-game suspension. Like I'm not a big confrontation guy, right? But I love a good basketball fight.
Yes.
If we're gonna fight, we're gonna fight. And most basketball players nowadays don't want to fight. So all the trash talk when the guy goes, I'm like, let's fight. Like in the middle of the game, let's fight. Since we both get thrown out. Then that's the case. But most guys don't want that fight. But back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, dudes were fighting, and I can appreciate that because we're competing, and that creates an environment for high level competition because it's between the lines. But nowadays, Zaza does something dirty, you can't touch him. So it's like, it sucks because he'll cheap shot you, and now everybody's on high alert. And if you cheap shot him back, you get thrown out the game. That's where I think the problem is. Like, I would love to see a guy like Zaza Pachulia cheap shot a dude like Anthony Mason or a Charles Oakley.
They rip that
guy in half.
They eat him alive. Come on. You can't say that. Come on.
The thing that bothers me is that when the poster boy for tough stuff is Zaza Pachulia, I'm not afraid of him. Like literally, I'm not afraid. Like I would have no problem getting into a UFC ring with Zaza Pachulia today. Like, somebody offered me enough money. I don't want any problems with Charles Oakley or Anthony Mason.
Right.
And I used to see Mace because Mace lived in Westchester where I live at. And I used to see Mason before he passed away, and I still don't want no problem. He's a nice guy, but don't put me in the UFC cage with Charles Oakley. I have no problem getting in the UFC cage with Draymond Green and or Zaza Pachulia. They just don't strike me as tough guys. They strike me as guys who know how to get under your skin.
Scott, we're going to need to do a number crunch after the show, find out how much money we have to see if we can get Q-Mart in the ring with Zaza Pachulia. Like, that's just main event pay-per-view money right there. Thanks.
Let's work on that. But, I mean, moving forward now, I mean, obviously we do have some other topics to go over, and we're just going to transition right in because from guys that we would want to fight in the octagon to now legacies, you know, obviously a lot of speculation here, and this is the reason why I asked the question: were the Warriors a super team before KD joins? Because everybody's saying that he joined a super team, not that he made the Warriors a super team. Does that make sense? Like that question, like
what you say?
Did he join a super team? A lot of people are speculating that he joined a super team, not necessarily that he made the Warriors a super team.
I mean, I think if you're gonna say that team won 73 games, so to an extent, I guess you could say that because they were a historically great team. Again, like
together though, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I guess we would have to define what a super team really is, because I mean, when I looked at the Warriors, I saw a team that was more of, hey, they play great team basketball, similar to the Spurs, where they played basketball, but we would never consider them a super team. They were just a fundamentally great at playing team basketball, and that's kind of what the Warriors were doing. They were just great at playing team basketball. They were pretty okay defensively last year, but they weren't anything really special. They were just beating people offensively, like you said, they had a lot of interior developed players. I don't know if that could be considered a super team.
But yeah, I don't consider them like a super team because, like I said, it comes down to where you rank Draymond Green,
right?
And there are some people who might rank him as a top 15 player. So then you're saying you have 3 top 15 players. I don't have him as a guy that is a top 15 guy. I have him as a top 30 guy. So he's
just score.
To me, he's a extremely good role player. He's a very talented role player.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's a guy who can carry the mail himself. I'm not going to call him a system guy because I think he has a skill set. But I don't think he's a guy who can move the needle on a less talented team. Like for example, if I say, yo, we're going to take Steph and we're going to take him from the Warriors and we'll put him on the Wizards, I think that changes the needle for the Wizards. I think they win more games. They're a more dangerous team. But if I'm like, yo, I'm gonna take Draymond Green off of the Warriors and put him on the Detroit Pistons, I don't think he changes the trajectory of the Pistons. I think they're still like a 40-win team. So, I think that's kind of how I rank players. Like, okay, if we take him here and we put him on a different team, how many games would that team win? There's not many situations where I see where you take him and go, okay, we're going to place him here. You put him on the Knicks. Okay, trade Draymond, put him on the Knicks with Melo. The Knicks are still not making playoffs.
Nope.
So, he fits perfectly for what they have. But he has a multifaceted skill set and a high motor. And you can't teach those two things, and that's what makes him unique. As a basketball player. So I have to give him his due, top 25, top 30, in the league, across the league right now. But I feel like if we're keeping it a buck, some dudes don't work hard. So if everybody worked hard, I don't know where he would be.
I mean, that being said, and for the most part, I actually completely agree with you. Let's still look at the notion of just super team. With what you said, do you believe that the notion of them being a super team is more from the hate from fan bases because of like how much they don't like the confidence that exudes from the Warriors, especially Steph Curry, and now they added KD, so that hate only intensified, and the notion of now, oh well, KD joined a 73-win team. Like, do you feel like it's more because of the hate? Or is it just more because of just people being unbiased and making that same claim. Because I don't think people. I don't think, logical basketball personalities, and I mentioned this to the doctor maybe 2 days ago, like, there's too many NBA fans making claims versus, NBA people making claims. And what I mean by that is, if you're just a fan, if you're just a casual fan, of course you're going to say it's a super team, because you probably, really haven't paid attention to the game in the past 10 years. You haven't paid attention to the game, since 1980s. Granted, we wasn't all born in the beginning of the 1980s, but that's besides the point.
And I think you made a good point about it not too long ago, saying that, a couple years ago, and excuse me, Chris trolled me again. Not sure exactly what happened, but Chris trolled me. That's okay. I'm going to get it back one day. But you made a good point saying that, a couple years ago, nobody was talking about Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. So it's like they weren't shooting the lights out. They were winning 40-something games and going to the playoffs, and they were getting better. Curry stayed hurt. I guess he finally got somewhat healthy and really started knocking down his jumpers. But it really wasn't until Steve Kerr got there, I guess, that pushed him over that hump, which I hate. But, I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. But to say that they're a super team because of their development, that's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
I think you're just dealing with a fan base, or most people who have a lack of knowledge of the NBA from a historic standpoint, just in general, of some of the rivalries and teams that kind of came together in the past to call super teams. It's easy to just say, okay, they have three of the top 12 players or three of the top 15 players, they're a super team. And then, it's easy to label that and kind of go with that narrative instead of to have a history to go, okay, let's look at the history and see what teams like, because that's the case. The Lakers were a super team. They had Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain. Mm-hmm. Right, the Knicks had Walt Clyde Frazier, Earl DePearl, Willis Reed. I mean, and then start looking at actual teams from the past, even though it might be less NBA teams, they were super teams already. Yeah, that's just what it was. When it comes to the fan, like most fans, if you ask them who invented the finger roll, they're going to tell you George Gervin. George Gervin made the finger roll famous. Connie Hawkins invented the finger roll. So, you got your audience, you have to realize is a bit biased, for one. And number two, most people don't go back and do the research. They can care less. So, a guy who's going to tell you that, LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love's a super team, it's not. It's really LeBron and Kyrie and a bunch of other guys.
Yep.
Kevin Love spent most of his career playing against second unit guys. That Minnesota team won 25, 30 games, right? So they're down by 20 points in the third quarter. He has 14-8, and all of a sudden here comes the second unit for the rest of the game. And versus the second unit, he might go for 12-7. All of a sudden, your man has 26 and 17, but no one knows that he played half that game versus second and third unit.
Right.
And now when he has to play a full game versus high-level athletes, he gets exposed.
Yep.
Because any NBA player, if I said to you, okay, I'm going to give you 25 shots and run the whole offense through you, anybody can average 20. And those guys are at the top echelon of the world, their profession. So if I grab anybody, if I grab a guy like Draymond, say, Draymond, we're going to give you 25 shots, we're going to run everything through you, he's going to average like 27. And so, his numbers are going to look crazy.
Yeah.
It's more inflation because of the fact that you're going to spend half your time getting blown out, and you're going to spend half your time playing against second and third string guys. And so it's easy to pad your stats. So a lot of Kevin Love's popularity came from just playing on a bad team and padding his stats versus second and third string guys. And now when he has to play a whole game versus first string guys and all NBA level guys, he gets exposed.
Let me ask you this, though, because, I don't want to jump out Kevin Love, but I want to make sure that we get the important and interesting questions here from the people about Kevin Durant. Now, a few things have been said to me about him joining, and I guess that's another one of those things, because you mentioned Kevin Love and him being on a poor team. But let's go back to, let's say, the Thunder, before they traded James Harden. Do you feel that was a super team?
Oh my gosh, I remember that question. Oh my gosh.
Because based on the conversation I had, it was because they had Westbrook, Harden, Ibaka, and Durant.
That's hindsight, and that's after the fact, right? Like that's like, oh, they had those guys at a young point in their career. That's all after the fact knowledge. That's 2020 vision. Like no one knew James Harden was going to be this good, right? Like when they weren't going to give him $80 million and they weren't going to re-sign him, no one knew James Harden was going to be a top 5 player in the league, right? They figured he'd be a top 25, maybe a left-handed version of Jamal Crawford. You know, that kind of a high-level scorer. No one saw that, right? No one knew that Ibaka would continually get worse as his career.
Oh my God!
And so, like, no one knew. We didn't know these things. Like, we look at the team now and go, "Oh my God, how can I let these guys go?" And it's like, no, in that moment, you're going off the knowledge that you have at that moment in the future. We don't have time machines. Oh, God, I wouldn't even call that a super team because I feel like it's just a Dragon Ball Z reference. Like, you know what I mean? Like some of those guys weren't Super Saiyan. Like nobody knew that Harden had a Super Saiyan level. Like they just thought he was a regular dude.
And that's the argument I had. And I just wanted to hear from somebody. I mean, if we're comparing that team to a super team, then the current Cavaliers roster would be a super team.
Exactly.
I mean,
I think super team gets thrown around very lightly nowadays because it's an easy narrative to push, and I don't think that we've seen a team that like the Lakers or Celtics in the '80s that had that much accumulation of talent and Hall of Famers. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, Kevin Love might not be a Hall of Famer. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. All right. So you have Kyrie, right? You have Kyrie. If we're talking about trajectory, you have Kyrie, LeBron, and you have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I don't know, and I know I'm just not 100% sure that Draymond's going to be a Hall of Famer. Right. He's a high-level role player. So you're going to tell me in this series, we have 4 future Hall of Famers on the court, right? But in the Lakers versus Celtics series throughout the 80s, and even if you're going to say Lakers, Sixers, and all these other series in the 80s, Lakers, Sixers had Moses Malone, Mo Cheeks, Dr. J, I think Doug Collins was on that team, and somebody else, right? Right. You look at the Lakers team, Kareem, Magic, Worthy, like, you know what I mean? So you're talking about series that had 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Hall of Famers involved, right? And not only NBA Hall of Famers, but let's look at guys that be Hall of Famers for their team. So I can't call this a super team when I can watch a game and see 10 people on the court who are all Hall of Famers battling, you know, and at a time where money wasn't a premium, right? Money was like the second thing. It was more about your pride in your game, because without the wins, you couldn't get the endorsements. Yep. Now I'm watching the Paul George Gatorade commercial about him hitting the last shot, and then when his season's on the line, your man airballed the last shot.
Talking about
and so that's my point. Like, the point of it is that at the end of the day, the NBA is now about money and pushing a narrative, so it's easy to get caught up on what they're saying.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's just a lot of reaching from, you know, the casual fan base. And we talked about this, but one of the other biggest thing too that I see that it's a heck of a lot more reaching these days with the media. And we're going to transition from that because we're about to finish up with this one and talk about get back into the Kevin Durant legacy. Hold on.
That's where we got 2 minutes left, so make sure your question is good.
And give us your thoughts on the Kevin Durant commercial following the championship.
Oh, not that.
I thought that was amazing. I loved every second of that because I'm a free spirit, man. I'm never going to tell somebody to not make the best decision for themselves or what makes them happy. And I find it weird when other people get mad, like, oh my God, Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. Like, yo, if it makes you happy, and you're the one who has to live with it, yo, be happy, fan. From a competition standpoint, am I gonna like it? No, because I'm a Spurs fan. But I cannot tell somebody what to do with their life. Like, he's not selling drugs, he's not doing nothing bad. But the way people reacted when he went to the Warriors, you would have thought that he done killed 100 people. Like, yo, he made a decision for his family and himself about him being happy and what he wanted to do. Exactly. Okay. If that's the case, be mad at Westbrook for being a terrible teammate. Be mad at Oklahoma City for ditching all their talent, making stupid moves. Be mad at everybody else but the person who's making a decision based on themselves. He's not sitting around thinking, well, you know what? I need to make everybody else happy, because no one else goes about their day doing that. No one else goes, you know what? I want to have KFC for lunch, but you know what? I'm going to have a salad because everybody else wants me to have a salad. No, you're going to have KFC because you want to have it. Like, so why can't somebody else make a decision? We live in the weirdest world I've ever seen in my life, where grown men are upset at what another grown man does.
Yep.
So it's like weird to me because I'm like, you're upset with KD and what he's doing in his life, but you can't pay your phone bill on time. There's other things you need to worry about that are more important.
Absolutely. And I guess as we transition to the LeBron legacy in a couple of seconds here, I guess this is a great question because I had another debate about it. Do you feel that Kevin Durant did the same thing that LeBron did going to Miami? Do you feel it is similar?
No, I don't think it's similar. I think
now. Why don't you? I want to hear it.
I think it's different. I think it's different for the fact that they had those guys in place. Like those guys were like when you're going to a team, Steph, Draymond, all those guys were drafted by them. That team was already in place. You're talking about a Miami team that was basically recruited. They went out and they got him. They went Bosh. Mike Miller took a pay cut. They started getting guys taking pay cuts and it's different. Miami was a collection of veterans who wanted to win championships, and those guys who are willing to sacrifice money to win. It doesn't really bother me. I think it's each one has its own level of organic, but clearly the Warriors would be more organic because most of the players they signed Kevin Durant. That's it. They didn't go out and sign anybody else. It wasn't like they went out and added other pieces. Like Miami got them, and then now you have $60 million of your salary cap going to these three dudes. They had to go out and fill the rest of the roster out. Now that team in this salary cap era will probably be a lot more dangerous because they have a lot more cap flexibility. You know what I mean? People don't talk about like the CBA and the different rules which allowed teams to sign people and do different things. That also dictates a lot. In this CBA era right now, the Thunder will be able to keep Harden and everybody. That changes everything.
True. Now let me ask you this. I mean, I know we got to move on to LeBron's legacy, but and this is a question we asked a while, probably maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and obviously this is a part of LeBron's legacy, so we go right into it. But what do you think that if we take away the whole decision, the whole on ESPN sit down, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, does LeBron get as much flack back then as he does still to this day? Does all the heat come to LeBron if he doesn't do the decision live?
Yes, because people want you to do what they want you to do. No one cares about the athlete or the public figure. People only care about what it is that they want you to do. All right, like people in their mind have a vision for you, and if you don't fulfill that vision, it's either going to be a level of joy or hatred to you based on their expectations of who you are. So, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a dumb athlete in high school, and then after high school you become a doctor, and you run to your classmates, you go, "Hey, I'm a doctor," and they remember you as a dumb jock, they're going to be really surprised at how you became a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, this is a level of surprise. But if you were to be a flunky that worked pushing shopping carts, they were like, "All right, that's what I wanted to see you do because you were a dumb jock." People that's how their minds work, right? Like, who cares? Like LeBron doing the decision, he made money for the Girls and Boys Club. And if you're going to give me a platform to do this, why wouldn't I do it? Am I supposed to turn down money? Oh, you know what? You're right. I don't want this check because everybody's going to be mad at me. No, I'm going to get the check. I always laugh at people. I'm like, yo, people, go get that bag. Like, if somebody offers you something, you don't care about public opinion. You got bills. I'm sure none of you guys care about public opinion when it comes to paying your bills. So why would he care about public opinion when it comes to paying his bills and providing for his family? People are just weirdos. We live in a weird world where everybody has a social media voice. Half the people are trolling. 25% of the people are uninformed, and the other 20% are just mad because everybody else doesn't know what they're talking about.
And the last 10% are people who just absorb what the media says and just regurgitate it out as facts.
Yeah. And so I'm not mad at him. Like, why would I be mad at him? He raised money for the Boys and Girls Club. He decided where he wanted to go. If ESPN is going to offer him money for exclusive coverage of his decision, why wouldn't he take it? Because it's going to piss off some people, right? People are quick to criticize LeBron, and then after the finals, when he loses to Dallas, and everybody has everything to say, he says, "You know what? It's okay because you're going to go back to your lives. I'm going to be a millionaire." People get offended. Are you mad now? He told you the truth. You spent all this time trolling him, but now you mad because he told you I'm about to go spend this $20 million that I made this year, while you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and basically hate your life. But you're mad, so no matter what, people are gonna be mad. It doesn't make a difference. So you might as well do what's gonna make you happy, because no matter what, you're gonna piss somebody off, making yourself happy.
Hey, you know what? That's a very interesting perspective, and we definitely thank you for that. I mean, thinking back on it, was I upset with the decision? I mean, I wasn't upset that he made the decision. I was more upset based on how he did it, just based off, the different articles. And, of course, I double check, triple check, quadruple check my facts before I start saying things. And, the way that he didn't inform the management about his, decisions and stuff like that. And I'm thinking about on an economical standpoint, because how Cleveland, depended so much on what Ron was doing there when he was there. And granted, we have the same similar dialogue right now with Kevin Durant and OKC, but I feel like that's probably overly exaggerated because they still got Russell Westbrook there. But I mean, your perspective definitely speaks volumes, though. I mean, he's still probably one of the top philanthropists out there in the world today. As far as athletes, his voice does have a lot more saying versus, top stars, or I guess you could say poster boys of the association of yesteryear, if you really think about it. But the issue is the people, and, it includes people that's probably listening right now, but I'm not saying this to piss people off, so please do not get off the stream. But, it's the people that just want to find things to hate just because. It's not, I hate what this person did because of some kind of logical reason, some kind of economical reason or anything like that. They just hate it because, now he decided to join up with his friends. He decided to, broadcast the decision live on TV for an hour at a Boys and Girls Club. Oh, forget the fact that it actually is for charity that he raised it for. They just hate just to hate. And that's what they're also doing with KD. But with LeBron is even bigger because, he has the nickname of the King. They compared him to Jordan. They're calling him the GOAT now. Like, everyone is just downpouring all this hatred on him. And you know what? I mean, end of the day, I got to give LeBron a lot of credit. He, always found a way to overcome it. He does it with class. I mean, there's not really much more to say right there. I mean, he does what he does, and he does it for his family. He does it for his brand, and, he's a heck of a businessman.
And you forgot to say the best player in the world.
I still go by the whole best athlete part just because. But
you said other people call him the
No. Let's ask him a serious question, right? Aliens come down right now.
And
they give us your best basketball player, and if he wins, we don't kill everybody on the planet. Who you calling?
Who am I calling?
Mm.
I mean, other than myself. Right now, I mean.
Oh God!
Aliens come down. Right? Aliens come down. They want your best basketball player right now. And you know what I love about basketball? What I love about sports in general. Sports makes hypocrites out of everyone.
Absolutely.
And I love it because right now, with that whole rumor of LeBron possibly going to the Clippers or Lakers,
yeah, I saw that.
I really hope LeBron goes to the Lakers, because every Laker fan who told me that Kobe is better than him and he can't touch.
They're gonna switch gears so fast it's not even gonna be funny.
I'm going to love every second of them screaming and buying LeBron. And you know what? As much as I'm a Spurs fan, I would love to see LeBron win like 2 or 3 chips with Lakers, just so I can see all those Laker fans that had nothing but negative things to say be hypocrites. Because it makes you hypocrite. All the guys say all these narratives and all these opinions, and then you have to root for him. And that's going to tell me a lot about you, because if you spent the past 14 years bad-mouthing the guy about how he'll never be Jordan or Kobe, and now he plays for Lakers, well, now you got to root for him. Now he's the best ever. Now, now you got to start kind of trying to hedge your bet a little bit. That's what I like about sports.
Absolutely.
So no matter how people feel, even with the Cleveland thing, they burned his jersey, they booed him. After the moment he came back, it was like nothing ever happened.
Oh, I already went through rants about that one, man.
Sports fans are hypocrites, and people are hypocrites. People are going to judge you and tell you what they think you should do, right? And judge you on that, but they would do the same exact thing or something different if put in your shoes. So it's like, yo, at the end of the day, any NBA player, any high-level athlete, do what makes you happy. Am I going to agree with every decision? No, but I'm going to respect it because it's a decision that you made for yourself and for your family.
Absolutely.
I'm not mad at LeBron for the special because that special raised money for kids and to put money in his pocket for his family. I'm not mad at Kevin Durant for picking Golden State because for him, he wanted to win, but he wanted to make money. He did what he thought was best for him, his family, and his legacy. I'm never going to knock a guy for that. I'll knock a guy like Martavius Bryant, I'm a Steelers fan, because he can't not smoke weed for like one day and he gets to the I'll knock guys I'll knock Josh Gordon or different guys who can't abide by rules. You know what I mean? I'll knock those guys all day, but I'm never gonna knock top level athletes who purvey an image to the world. So LeBron marries high school sweetheart, 3 kids, great father, speaks up on social issues, donates money to people, and there's a level of African American men who just hate him for no reason. It's weird.
And that's the thing that we don't want people to think.
We're in an era where people want to see other people fail so badly.
Exactly.
Like I've never seen so many happy people. And like, for example, my grandfather played for the Warriors. My grandfather was the second black rookie year in NBA history. He played for Philadelphia Warriors with Wilt Chamberlain before they went to the Bay. He was a Harlem Globetrotter. He played with Bill Russell in the championship in '66 with the Celtics. And it's like weird because back then, right, being the first black player, it was like white people who didn't want him to do well because he's black. And I get that. It makes sense. You know what I mean? There's racism, there's lots. But we're in 2017, and there are grown men of the same culture who are wishing nothing but bad for another guy who's doing so much for the culture. It's such a weird dynamic. And
I think it is a weird dynamic. And that's why whenever we get into these debates, it has nothing to do with him as a person or him as a basketball player, but it seems like when you're talking to what we call here on the show LeBronomaniacs, and by Lebronomaniac, of course, we mean somebody who really feels as though everything LeBron does is great. I mean, we're talking about he can shoot like Steph, Steve Kerr, and Reggie Miller. He can block shots like Mutombo. He can dunk with the power of Sean Kemp, Larry Johnson, and Vince Carter all in one. And he plays the defense of the glove and rebounds like Dennis Rodman out there. And it's like, I understand he has those attributes, but we're talking about LeBron. Hey, LeBron doesn't foul. We get those comments. That wasn't a foul. LeBron doesn't walk or travel. I mean, that's where it gets to be ridiculous when the statements that are coming out are really unrealistic. And it starts to kind of get fabricated with what we're all seeing. So it's like when we watched Game 4, and I mean, I would love for you to go over it, but when we watched Game 4, it was clear that the referees were like, we need to get this $10 million.
Yeah.
Like, it was clear, but a Cavalier fan who's not really a Cavalier fan, a LeBron fan, is saying, oh, no, the referees are finally calling the game the way they should. You know, the Warriors got all these calls. Like, you can see it. It's so clear. And I guess that's the problem with the new NBA fan, is that we're not really, you're a Spurs fan, I'm a Rockets fan, the Professor John Gotti's a Knicks fan. That's just who we are. So we roll with our teams. When our teams are out of it, typically we roll with whatever conference we're rolling with or whichever player I guess we like after that, or we just don't care. But this fan, it's like, man, I'm going wherever LeBron go. And that's not, I mean, that's, to me, that makes basketball and just being a fan kind of weak.
Yeah, but that's the world we live in. We don't, you know what I mean? A lot of this stuff goes to just how the world we live in structures how people think. Like I had somebody tell me one time, they were like, I'm a LeBron and D Wade are my 2 favorite players, but I'm a Knicks fan. And I'm like, yo, and that was when LeBron and D Wade played in the Heat, and I said that's like saying Tom Brady's my favorite player, but I'm a Jets fan. That makes no sense.
No sense.
There are people who go, I'm not a basketball fan, I'm a LeBron fan, so wherever LeBron goes, I'm gonna go. And it's like, yo, people just want to be a part of something.
Yes.
That's all. Crazy. People just want to be a part of something, and when you root for a team, you don't have any decisions on what the team does, whether it's hiring a GM or coach. You're on that roller coaster ride, and you're strapped in, and where that ride goes is where you go. And people don't like having control. But it's very easy for me to go, you know what? I'm not a bass. I'm not an OKC Thunder. I'm a Westbrook fan. He should win MVP. He averaged triple double. I'm a Westbrook. That's my guy. I'm a fan of Westbrook. I'm not a fan of the actual Thunder. So when they get knocked out the playoffs, well, you know what? Russ had a great season. He had a triple double. I'm good. Mm-hmm. It's a cop out for people. It's easy to get yourself attached to one player, and that way their number, unless they play completely terrible, which is impossible in the NBA to play completely terrible, because even a bad game is still 25-10. You know, for somebody nowadays, people just want to be a part of something. People just want to be a part of whatever it is that's going on. It's not the same how it was back in back in the day. It never will be. There's going to be people who are just fans of players now. You know, that's you got to deal with it. It's a new fan. I'm a fan of a player. I'm not a fan of a team.
The irony, though, that just about 15 minutes ago, I mentioned this, and somebody 4 hours ago just posted this. On paper, Westbrook, Harden, Ibaka, and Current were better than Curry. Or I guess, I don't know if they're putting better than. Usually that right sign means better than. I don't know if they meant to do that. But that's the way it's written here. Better than Curry, Clay, Draymond, and Durant. How come nobody called that 2012 Thunder team a super team? I guess that just goes back to what we were saying about that fan right now. But nobody knew that these guys, well, the first three were going to be as good. Well, I guess James Harden, really, he's the only person that you just didn't know. Russell, you saw inklings.
It's not even that. People, you gotta realize, in 2012, what was that? Their fourth year in the league? So they're like 23.
Yeah, something
and
like
it was
that.
also lockout season too.
Don't forget lockout, right? Like, look at AAU teams. I could pull an AAU team up probably where like there was like a bunch of dudes on the team. I mean, and that was a super team. Like, like I remember playing. I'll give you an example. Playing in AAU, the Atlanta Celtics at one point in time had Rajon Rondo at point guard. Mm-hmm. They had Josh Smith at the 3. Randolph Morris was a first-round pick at the 4, and Dwight Howard at the 5. That's super team. Super team. They don't need anybody else. They have 4 guys that were first-round picks in the NBA, right? Okay. But like once time will tell, like Rajon Rondo is went from an elite to okay point guard. Dwight Howard went from an elite to okay center. Randolph Morris isn't in the NBA anymore, and neither is Josh Smith. So how impressive do those guys look right now? Right, like time made them look less impressive, but at that moment, them walking in the gym, or when you say in 2009, when all those guys were at the peak of their career, except for Randolph Morris, those guys at the peak of their career, you go, at one point in time, the AAU team had Josh Smith, Rondo, and Dwight Howard. That meant a lot in 2008, 2009. How much does it mean right now? So hindsight's always 20/20.
Actually, real quickly before we head into our next subject, speaking of the fad that is following people or just hating people just to hate people. Total Pro Sports, follow them on Twitter at Total Pro Sports, and also visit the page at totalprostores.com. Posted a small article. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at it, but here it is, and it was actually done by Black Adam Schefter. And of course, I don't know if this is true or not, but of course, parody is blending with reality these days. But they said on this past Monday's episode of Jeopardy, a category put up for sports said, after a loss to the Warriors in the 2016 Western Finals, this Thunder stud didn't beat him, he joined him. Like, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about today, is the unnecessary hate, the unnecessary, shade towards players without understanding, at a much more logical level.
But that there's value in gossip and there's value in shade. Gossip is a billion-dollar industry that basically exploits people of color. How many blogs do you have? Like Shade Room, all these places, Baller Alert, Media Takeout, Gossip, all these places just promote, fake news and hate.
Yeah.
And it's a billion-dollar industry. And
because
so people know.
It's funny because it's something that I keep mentioning to the doctor as far as like promoting the show. Like, we want to actually give people facts. We want people to think. We want people to not just look at this and go, okay, say something that we can get mad about. Like, we want people to be engaging and have intellectual, logical conversations about the world of sports because that's something that we're all passionate about. However, the reality is most people, or you could say most consumers of entertainment, period, would rather see something like, this fake Jeopardy category, or, some kind of meme that promotes LeBron James being 3-5 in NBA Finals right now. Like, that's what people want. They want that quick little hot topic thing that they can laugh at and they can promote, sort of thing. And that's not what we do here. Like, it bothers me on a professional level, and sometimes on a personal level, on the quality of what should be promoted versus what's actually being promoted. So much trash is being promoted versus stuff that is of quality nature is not getting promoted. Like, I've read so many articles daily about sports that should be pushed around and, shared about and whatnot. And I'll put it on Twitter, I'll put it on Facebook, and, it's not getting as many responses. However, if, let's say another associate of ours on our friends list decide to post something funny, about a certain athlete or a certain celebrity or whatever like that, it gets so many more clicks because all they want to see is the hate.
That's what sells. Man, people don't want to. People never want to see you doing better than them. And since we have this kind of society where people typecast you to what they think you should be able to do, and people enjoy hating on each other and enjoy senseless comments or just focusing their energy on tearing down people, because it's much easier to tear down somebody who's doing better than you than it is to continue to root for them.
Exactly.
And that's why, and same thing, in wrestling and in sports, the narrative or the role change, right? The baby face to the heel or the heel to the baby face. Eventually, certain narratives get old, and it becomes time. Like LeBron James' narrative, when he was like, everybody's rooting for Bron, and he was the hope of Cleveland. Just that one change of him going to Miami instead of doing what people wanted him to do, we found not we, but people found ways to hate on. Well, I don't like the special. The special, it's not that. It's not the fact that he went to Miami. He did a whole special. Oh, well, it is. He went to Miami because he has 3 other players. It's all. Everybody's going to find a reason to hate. No one's going to find a reason to go, you know what? Congratulations for making yourself happy and your family happy. Good luck. But it's something to talk about, and people just want to talk, and that's what you get. Nowadays, where people, there's so many different metrics. Like, oh, well, Michael Jordan's better than LeBron because Michael Jordan has a steakhouse in the cologne. LeBron don't have his own cologne. Where's LeBron's cologne at? He don't have a cologne in the steakhouse. He don't have a cologne. He's not better than it. That has nothing to do. People just find anything at all just to find, oh, you know what? On March 7th, 1985, Michael Jordan had 44 points. On March 7th, LeBron only had 22. He's not better than Mike is. People just be reaching for information to make themselves feel good.
Exactly. It's all about put the spotlight on me. I want my voice to be heard because I am some kind of troll behind a keyboard who can say whatever I want without any kind of, repercussions.
And that's why I said earlier. I said people, the internet is great because it connects people, and you're able to talk to somebody in Spain or China or do different things. And it's great for a purpose for connecting people, but it also gave a voice to the kids who never came outside. So the kids who never came outside growing up, right? The guys who did come outside and they said something stupid, you get punched in the mouth, because there's a lot of value getting punched in the mouth. I don't promote violence, but back in the day when you were growing up, there's a lot of value, and it probably saved my life. And I got hit so hard by my cousin, it made me realize I wasn't tough. And it probably changed my life. And I was like, you know what? I'm not tough. I don't need to be doing this. I'm going to keep my comments in line with what I can do. So now you get people who get behind keyboards, who nothing can happen to them, and they keep on just typing away and getting people riled up and trolling. You didn't have that back in the day, because if you had to troll, you had to troll face to face. And if you troll face to face, you might get knocked out. And there was a consequence behind that. And that's why there was no trolling.
You might just man up so much that your jaw might get stole.
Yes.
I mean, and speaking of just the social media, just really quickly, I'm just going to do a quick plug. Shout outs to Ashley I. Shout outs to Ashley I.
I mean, great fan of the show.
Exactly.
Oh, it's just that's what it comes down to. I try not to hate on anybody. I try to find an objective reason as to why I like or dislike something. but never to hate on somebody or come up with superficial stats or random things as to why someone's not great.
Absolutely. And it just makes it harder to, have conversations with people about sports because they don't look at it in the same way. And it makes it difficult if they're just going, well, LeBron's the best, LeBron's the best, LeBron's the best. But tell me why. But LeBron's the best, LeBron's the best, LeBron's the best. But tell me why.
Because they just want to be a part of something because they're not the best at anything. So it's easy to champion somebody who's the best at something, because I'm not the best at something.
Exactly.
And so as opposed to me focusing on what I can be the best at, I can just shout somebody else's accomplishments. Mm-hmm. It's a very weird dynamic that people like to shout other people's accomplishments or shout out their failures. And especially when you're discussing any athlete, you're talking about people who are in the 0.0001 percentile of their profession. And most people aren't even the top person at their job. You know what I mean? Like if you took a poll and ranked people at where they're at their workplace, you know what I mean? Bob from accounting is probably like the 17th best accountant in his job, but he's going to tell you why LeBron sucks, or he's going to tell you why LeBron's the greatest thing ever.
Yep.
Go be good at what you do first, and master your craft before you start to champion somebody else or tear them down.
I think that statement right there is absolutely not only true, but probably one of the best transitional statements ever on the history of Debate Amongst Friends. Because our next topic is about mastering what you're good at now until you get the torch passed to you in the WWE, obviously.
I see.
I mean, it was so perfect. Like, it was so perfect and spot on because obviously there was, and this is a two-part, and that's why we have these final two topics, an article about John Cena. I mean, now, obviously, everybody knows John Cena. Actually, I was sitting at lunch the other day, and we were talking about wrestling, and this guy just came up. He's like, oh, what you guys talking about, wrestling? And he just started going. And I was just like, really, John Cena? He was like, that's the only guy I know right now. And I was like, well, that speaks volumes, because we always talk about John Cena, and it's like John Cena kind of falls into that LeBron, Tom Brady, face of a company person. And he said in the article,
well, I mean, when it comes down to passing the torch, I'm falling off the WWE wagon. I just from a writing standpoint, I've been like bashing them.
Of course.
Oh, you're not alone in that, by the way.
Yeah, I've been destroying them just based on just looking at other promotions like New Japan and Ring of Honor, and just like watching how like there's so many talented guys out there that should be in the WWE.
Absolutely.
I mean, a small promotion like WCPW is having better storylines than WWE, and they just opened like a year ago.
Yeah, Ring of Honor, when Marty Scurll becomes Bullet Club, and then everybody thinks that that's a lame duck match, or that's basically getting Adam Cole out of there, and Adam Cole resigns. That's just phenomenal. Right. So I thought Adam Cole was going to WWE. I thought he was going to be a TakeOver Chicago.
Yep.
And all of a sudden he's back, and now he has a feud with the Bullet Club. Like, that's phenomenal writing, because it seemed like a cast off. And Skrull comes out there, and he's a new Bullet Club. He's replacing them. And they always do that. They did the same thing with AJ when Kenny Omega became the leader for New Japan, and they beat AJ up before he went. So I was like, oh, okay, this is going to beat up Adam Cole like they normally do, and he'll leave and go to WWE. And he came back, and now you have a rivalry. He fights Hangman Page. I mean, like, just the WWE in terms of passing the torch. They've been trying to force the torch down Roman Reigns' throat, and the only reason that he gets any, I guess, main event status because he gets so much heat from being booed.
This is true. I would probably correct and say that they're not trying to force the torch down his throat. They're passing the torch to him, but they're trying to shove the fact that they're passing the torch to him down our throats as consumers.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess if we were looking at a top five, it's kind of tough when we first came up with this. It's kind of tough to come up with a top five people that they should pass it over to, but I guess we can come with a top five people that they probably will turn it over to. I mean, obviously, the first person being Roman Reigns. Obviously, he's the quote-unquote guy. He's not the good guy. He's not the bad guy. He's just the guy that John Cena is going to hand the torch over to.
Which, by the way, I had an interesting, booking conversation on 4 Eyes podcast where, describing how WWE could have saved face for Roman Reigns, and you heard me mention it all the time how they pushed him towards the champ. They gave him the championship a year too late. So it was very intriguing. They didn't think about it that way. They just looked at it as, well, Roman's the guy or he's not the guy. But I'm like, but if they would have done it like this, though, and I believe it was the Royal Rumble that Bautista won, or Batista, or Blutista, however you want to call him.
Yeah.
On that Royal Rumble, that one that he won, I said if Roman would have won that one, he would have won the title at Mania, because the Shield was so hot and he was so hot and he was still that. Oh gosh, let me not say it like that ever again. Chris, really quickly, make sure you edit that out in the final cut. Thank you. But if they would have done that on that year, it wouldn't have been as bad of conversation in 2017 about Roman Reigns and the fact that they're forcing the down throat, because everyone was eating the hype up, because you got to be hype, bro. Well,
here's what
but they did it a year too late, and they've separated the Shield around that summertime after they finished beating Evolution, and then they forced him on mic, and that began to decline. And then he started to having those same habits as Cena, like the 5 moves of death and things like that.
Now, let me ask you though. Now, do you think, let's say, instead of Seth Rollins joining Triple H, what if Roman would have joined Triple H at that moment when the Shield broke up? Do you think that would have made it better for him?
It actually would make it better, and here's why.
I don't think it would make it better, but go ahead.
I think it might have made it a little better, but I just want to hear, because you think about it, that propelled Seth into a tremendous heel. Even though they didn't want Roman to be heel, it kind of doesn't matter because he's going to get booed regardless now.
This is true.
And
it's not the fact that they want him to. Okay, they want him to turn heel, which probably should have happened, but that's besides the point. But if they had someone to do the talking for him, this is why I say him joining the Authority at that time would have been good, and they could have protected him as far as him talking on the mic. They would have had Triple H spoke more for him. They would have had Stephanie McMahon speak more for him. You know, not just stick mics in his face and have Vince McMahon basically write his stuff.
And have him say succotash.
I just don't think he has the move set. Like, I don't think he's like a great wrestler. Like, I just don't think he's a great. Like, all right, I think Cesaro is undercast. Like, he's probably top 3 actual wrestler,
absolutely,
on there. But he's stuck as a tag team champion, where I would love to see him get a push, at least as like an Intercontinental or U.S. champion. But he's never had like a mainstream push to be WWE champion. But he can actually wrestle his ass off. Like, I would love to see a Cesaro AJ Styles match. Both those guys can wrestle. They get guys over all the time.
Of course. You know what the funniest part about that is? We can also watch those matches as well, too, which is one of my other things, but that's besides the point. But I completely agree. I mean, and Cesaro would be part of my top 5 as far as torch passing.
Right. But I mean, now, is this who you would want to be torched? Who you would want the torch to be passed to, or who they're going to pass the torch to?
Well, that's who I want. But the people that they will. So Roman Reigns is number 1. Number 2 is Big Cass.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me just say this one thing. Last thing about Roman. Roman Reigns. Anyone with you, Roman? Roman Reigns has the same type of fans that follow LeBron James. And I even mentioned it last week. You have the LeBronomaniacs, and then you have the Romanites.
Both terms are coined the phrase and copyrighted by debates among friends.
People will argue that, I think one person said, you don't like Roman Reigns. I guess you don't like John Cena either. Absolutely not. Because
they equally have 5 moves. Like that WrestleMania match Undertaker was so terrible to watch him spear and Superman punch because he has no other move sets. So basically, let's watch it. Roman Reigns runs in the ring. What do you get? About 5 minutes of action. You get a spear and a Superman punch, and the match is over. Like there's nothing exciting about him. Like if you know what I mean. So it's like when you look at the talent on the roster, you look at the talent from a worldwide perspective of other promotions, and there's so many other talents to do. Like for me, Bobby Roode should already be brought up from NXT.
Well, you would have to listen to last week's episode because last week we talked about that, and I compared NXT to starting your 2K or NBA Live career mode at 85.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Like some of these guys are coming in and they're starting at 85, but you're putting them in the D League basically of wrestling. And it's like, it just looks kind of crazy, but I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to teach them the WWE way. And I guess that's the most important part. But I guess we just read an article in the Game Runners group that says Triple H is having a hard time with Vince McMahon in the way that NXT people are being booked. Because you think about it, when they're called up from the D League, if they're riding the bench or getting buried, it's like, what's the point of having this NXT in the D League? When I have to imagine that Triple H is giving these guys opportunity. But as I mentioned to John Gotti, it's hard to give them opportunities when you have these guys at the top, a lot of the John Cena's, even someone like AJ Styles. It's going to be hard to portray AJ Styles as a big card talent for a long period of time.
Yeah, but I think that there's enough titles to make the divisions more competitive. The WWE just for one reason they don't ever change their style of writing. So you get the same thing on us. But if there's 6 guys you could put in the Money in the Bank match, right? There should be 6 guys who could vie for the U.S. title, 6 guys who could vie for the Intercontinental title, which makes those divisions a little bit more sexy, right? And then you have the tag division where you can have some guys tag team to get them over for a little bit, right? And then have that normal tag team breakup and turn it into a match. They did the same thing with Golden Truth. Right, like you're a tag team, and then Goldust attacks them, and now you have this thing going back and forth. You can easily get guys over doing that and holding them over, being tag team champs or just competing for the belts or whatever. It just comes down to they write exactly the same for everything, and so you can have 3 or 4 guys vying for the WWE title, on both sides. Now that opens up spots for the mid-card stuff to introduce guys. Like, there's no way you could tell me that Elias Sampson guy is better than Bobby Roode.
True.
You know what I mean? And his shtick sucks. But he's going to be, I guarantee he'll get an Intercontinental Championship shot somehow in a 3-way match with him, Dean Ambrose, and The Miz. Like, you know what I mean? Off the rip. And he's not more talented than Bobby Roode.
Well, and it doesn't really help out in Elias Sampson's case, the fact that The Miz and Dean Ambrose's program by itself has just been long played. It's done. It's just terrible now.
I would like to see Bobby Roode skip the Intercontinental Championship and go directly into the heavyweight title picture because he's a big draw.
And he is a big draw, and he will go straight to the main title picture. Same thing with like how Samoa Joe he wasn't necessarily in the title picture right away, but they put him in a program to introduce the casual fans to him and show him like, yeah, this is Samoa Joe. He is a badass.
But the thing what I'm happy about is that we got away from dealing with Mayor Kane and Undertaker and John Cena. We got away from a lot of these bigger, older guys, and we're letting the young guys play. Let the young guys play.
Now, if only we could have Brock Lesnar stop winning titles.
Well, I think Brock is about done. I think Brock is going to be done. He's going to get the coquina clutch put on him, and that should probably be it for him.
They have Brock fighting Reigns in WrestleMania right now. That's the report. That the Brock Joe thing is a one thing only. They're trying to push Braun Strowman, so Strowman comes back and fights Lesnar like a mini feud for a couple months to hold him. So that makes sense. And, to hold him over because he was supposed to fight him at Great Balls of Fire, but he hurt his elbow and so now he just got cleared yesterday to return to the ring, and so now I guess it'll be a one-off. But right now they're saying because the Coquina clutch on Heyman and just the whole feud looks so well and the fans are loving it, it might last a little bit longer now. But Brock is supposed to hold the title to WrestleMania and then lose it to Reigns.
Oh man! Wow.
What percentage, gentlemen, do you have that Samoa Joe can actually pull this out? If not at Great Balls of Fire, at SummerSlam.
I mean, but what he just read, it would be 0.
Yeah, I mean, I would give like a 7% chance WWE changes their mind and says, let's make Samoa Joe the champion. But I think in Brock's contract or something like that, I guess he has to. I don't know if he has to be the champion or something like that, but I don't think he wants to be on there if he's not the champion. Like, that's just
right.
So they're basically keeping it until Reigns gets the torch passed to him at WrestleMania. Right now, that's the plan. But people get injured, things change, fans pick up on different things. You never know.
What's the point of having a champion that never show? He's never there.
And that's where my point is actually. So I have to give it a 30% chance because it's gonna create better dialogue for the top title. It allows them to do little mini feuds, and then Brock can regain the title at Survivor Series. So it'll be a summer where Raw would actually have their main title there, which I think is a fantastic idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets it back at Survivor Series or even Royal Rumble leading to WrestleMania.
True. Well, I mean, I guess let's see who else is on this torch passing list. I heard you mention Big Cass.
They're still in the seeds right now for Big Cass and Enzo to split up. The initial story was Big Cass basically pulled a Rikishi, and I did it for myself by beating up Enzo. But now it seems like it's going to be a turn based off of jealousy because Big Show and Enzo became, BFFs over the past 2 weeks.
Also be careful. I was watching a clip of when he's on the ground. The Revival is in the background, and the Revival is a new tag team from NXT.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's to just throw us off, though.
It could be. It could not be. I can see the Revival getting over on Enzo and Cass, and that being the reason, like, they go on a losing streak, and then Cass is just tired of losing, and he just beats up Enzo, and that creates kind of like the same feud. Because you can create.
But the Revival was over when they debuted on the main roster, though. Like, I don't think they necessarily need them to do so. Like, they put the New Day out of commission and made them go to SmackDown.
But we haven't seen the Revival since.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna need Big Cass if he's gonna turn on Enzo. He's got to turn him with a big move. Like, it's got to be something big. Like, you can't hit him with an Empire Elbow or boot.
I hate that move.
Like, it's got to be like
okay, Q-Mart, I'll be honest with you, and I talked to the doctor about this plenty of times. He laughed whenever I say this. I did not like the People's Elbow growing up. I
was a huge Rock fan.
Yeah.
When Logic breaks in that, like, the elbow to your chest could 3 count you, then you're kind of like, it's stupid. But, like, as a kid, that's like my favorite thing to do. Also, I do the rock bottom.
Right.
As a logical adult now, I'm like, that move is stupid as hell. But
even growing up, looking at, like, the People's Elbow, like, I'm more of the, Shawn Michaels, like, okay, give me the People's Elbow, I'm gonna kip up and then, give you a super kick. Like, that's me. Like, don't drop an elbow, then you're gonna get a 3 count on me.
But all those moves back then, when you think about it, a lot of those moves really weren't, strong. Exactly. But now, every big back at that time had a big move. Well, every big at the time really did a power bomb, and obviously we can't do that right now. Even though the power bomb's kind of gone out of style a little bit. As far as a finishing.
Well, that's because they have freaking cruiserweights doing power bombs, so it makes it look weak.
So if Big Cass was to come out with a jackknife power bomb, it might be a little different. Little release at the top, might be a little nice. But clearly we got 3 more people. The next person I think that would get passed to them would be Braun Strowman.
Yeah,
Vince McMahon loves big sweaty men, and Braun Strowman's one of the biggest.
I don't even think Braun Strowman has reached his like 30 match limit. I think he's still like around like 20
12
something.
or
No, he was at 15, around 15 before he got hurt. So he was probably around like somewhere around there. Like, so it's like, yo, you really, not that you can't push him, but okay, I guess he'll be Brock Lesnar's replacement. He'll be like a more active Brock Lesnar.
He's shown that he can carry a match, though. He carried the heck out of that match with Roman.
He did.
I just think it was stupid to debut him with the Wyatt family and then break the Wyatt family up.
That's true. I could understand.
But then again, when have they really made sense of the Wyatt family at all?
That's what I'm saying. Like I would have loved to either see them all together as a faction and then hold all the titles and like have this mysterious, creepy thing, almost kind of like the corporate ministry or the Ministry of Darkness type thing.
Yeah.
That was played really well over, you know what I mean, in the Attitude Era. Like the corporate ministry was so dope. You had the Acolytes, you had Edge, Christian, it was like that, you know what I mean, you just didn't know that dark and weird kind of group, and it was just, you know what I mean, it was just so much in that era. I remember growing up watching and like really being attached to that storyline. It's like, okay, you have Strowman, Luke Harper could wrestle his ass off,
which is ridiculous,
and Bray Wyatt has so much charisma. I would have loved to see him keep that group together of monsters and let Harper and Rowan be tag titles. You know what I mean? Let Strowman be a U.S. or Intercontinental champion and let Bray for a little bit. And now be a great story because now you have to maybe form the Bullet Club with AJ, Finn, and Anderson and Gallows, take him out. You know what I mean? It's just so many different angles you can go with, but like the WWE never takes the easy approach of just making shit that makes sense happen.
Agree. And I thought the same thing. I thought they should have ran the whole company really at that time. It would have made sense. But looking over the list, I know you mentioned Cesaro is on your list. I mean, the last person that I could think of, and it would be interesting to see how he would carry the title, that would be The Miz.
I think he has more charisma than in-ring talent, though he's gotten substantially better as a wrestler.
Much better.
I will say that. I have a feeling that I don't think they could rest on their laurels on him just being good and just having mediocre matches.
I don't think he can give me a 25-minute match, like a 25-minute spot, and it'll be a great spot. Like, I think when you're talking about a champion, you're talking about guys like AJ Styles who can give you a 25, 30-minute spot, and it's phenomenal, and all pun intended.
Until he does a Styles Clash, then it drops in points.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I think when you're discussing guys like a Randy Orton can get you over because Randy Orton can give you a great match for 25 minutes and really
if he's motivated.
Yeah, I mean, but just in general, you're looking at guys like now they have Jinder Mahal, and it's like he can barely wrestle 10 minutes. Like, there's nothing interesting about him, and all his moves sets are just power moves. And so you get a 12-minute match with a little interference from the Singh brothers, and that's what you know what you're going to get. You already know what's going to happen in the next pay-per-view.
Right.
Like, we know what the match is. And that's what it's missing. When you had guys like Shawn Michaels and guys who could perform, you didn't know what you were getting out the match. And that's what made the match exciting. You kind of maybe had an idea who would win, but you didn't know what the match would look like. Nowadays, like, all right, Roman Reigns, spear, Superman punch,
corner clothesline,
superplex, power. But it's like, all right, we kind of know what's going to happen. We already know your moveset, fam. Like, we know what you're going to do.
Right.
Yep.
It's almost like when you're playing the game and basically you're just doing the moves that'll get you the win rather than actually try to entertain the people.
This is true.
Yeah. But I guess our next topic came from the same
we have
article.
one more person, and I actually have one person that I don't think anyone thought of. Baron Corbin.
Well, he would be an extra because unless you're taking Cesaro out.
Well,
I mean, Corbin,
I just said that was part of mine, but I mean, number 5 is Baron Corbin.
Corbin's good.
He's the favorite to win the Money in the Bank match. Vegas odds.
Well, let me ask you guys this. I mean, not just going on the Money in the Bank. I mean, what was the point of the Andre the Giant Classic? I mean, Mojo Rawley won it. I mean, what was the point? Was it just to get Gronk in the ring? I mean,
that's all it was for. That's it. Everything is done publicity-wise.
Because Corbin won the Andre the Giant Challenge too, and he got a major push.
Yeah, but Corbin is a better character than Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley is like a more athletic version of Cassius Ohno. You just don't know why he's here. He just has a lot of energy.
Is it because he's hype, bro?
That's pretty much it.
That's literally the entirety of Mojo Rawley. Like, he really doesn't have a great moveset at all.
But that's kind of the second best transitional statement made tonight ever on the show, because the next topic is about burying upcoming talent and how John Cena was accused of burying talent. Obviously, Triple H was accused of burying talent. A lot of people really working. I mean, over the history of the WWE, talent has been buried and buried and buried. But why do you think, and who do you think is really the next to be buried? And the first person that I'm going to throw out here, and you guys just let me know, because I think he's been buried. I think a little bit of dirt's been thrown on him.
Sami Zayn?
He would have been second. Dean Ambrose is in the process of being buried, to me at least.
I think he's already buried.
Yeah, he was already buried after he lost the title at SmackDown.
Yeah, I think he's been buried. I think the guy that's going to be buried next, or at least they're looking like it, is Bray Wyatt.
He's already been buried too.
I don't know. I would say he's hit that cliff. Like when he called out Roman Reigns and then lost to him on Raw. I was like, well, why'd you call him out? Like, you got beat up. Like, now, and then he started that. Like,
but he won the SmackDown title to only lose it to Randy Orton.
Yeah, he did. I hated that. I hated that so much.
So when I say buried, I'm like, he's losing matches and it's not making him look. It's not like he's getting over and winning matches. He's losing these matches. I'm like, he's going to get buried eventually. He's going to end up being like a mid-card guy eventually if they don't figure it out or fix it.
But you think about it, he lost so many pay-per-views back-to-back before he won that last one. And actually won the title. And then he lost, of course, to Randy Orton. But think about it, he had lost so many times. Like, he's like the ultimate pay-per-view loser.
The eater of pins.
The eater of pins. It's like it's hard to say, and then obviously the hate that's probably going to come from this whole JoJo situation. Of course, the some people who are going to just hate on him because he got a chance to be next to JoJo, and then other people who are going to hate on him because he's getting a divorce and all this other stuff. And some people don't believe in that stuff, but obviously he'll probably get buried, and they'll probably blame it on that. But I can accept that. Now, you mentioned Sami Zayn, Professor John Guy. Or did you think that I was going to say that, or do you believe that?
I think that you was going to say Sami Zayn.
I don't think he's ever gotten to a point where he hasn't been buried. I feel like his whole career in the WWE has been nothing but memorial ground.
I can actually agree.
I can see that.
I can actually because he was the man in NXT. Like, he was part of that revolution, that renaissance of wrestling in the WWE as a whole. He was part of that movement. He was Mr. NXT. But when he got brought to the main roster, he basically became Bray Wyatt before Bray Wyatt became the Eater of Pins. And he would lose every single match. Or he would always over-exaggeratedly sell an injury all the time. Like, his best match on the main roster was at Battleground against Kevin Owens. But, where people say, oh, that was an incredible match, I'm like, but I've seen it before. And that's the problem. Right. Like, they're not booking him correctly. And maybe it's just him. Maybe he, don't mind that to try to help push other people because, one of the things that we talk about, Doctor, is a lot of these indie darlings who comes in are, what you said, your threshold was like 36 years old, you said?
Yes, 35, 36.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they can bring any innovation unless they let Triple H just take over and turn Raw and SmackDown into an extension of NXT. To make it a spectacle again.
Yeah.
A spectacle all over again. because that's what the takeover shows are, and that's what NXT events are. They're spectacles. That's a point where the fans can actually enjoy the show. There's some storylines. The wrestlers are telling an old school story. It even seems like it's on an old school platform, almost like a house show, like in your house, or the way Monday Night Raw used to be before it. I guess it almost looks like how it was during the Monday Night when it was kind of pre-taped.
Yep.
But it was good, even though we knew it was pre-taped and we knew what the outcomes were going to be. If you went online and read it, or Eric Bischoff went on Monday Nitro and told you what it was going to be, I mean, it's basically the same thing. But obviously, we do have some other people who are about to get buried or have already been buried. Who else do you think is going to get buried? I mean, it's so tough because I feel like so many people are on the cusp or right in the middle that it's hard to say what will happen to them. Like, obviously, we're not going to mention the Apollo Cruzes of the bunch because I don't think he's ever going to make it.
I mean, WWE still has a really bad history of, treating African American superstars so well.
Unless they win Father of the Year.
You already know how I felt about that. That's good business decision.
Yeah, unless they win Father of the Year, that's something completely
different. Which is the same thing that's happened to Gender. But I'm actually gonna say someone who already gotten buried, but which is Becky Lynch. Now she's not really as relevant anymore. But someone who is getting buried, quote unquote, just based off the way that they've been booking her for like the past few months right now, it's Bayley.
I did hear that. I actually had a conversation with Jay Rich, who was on the call last week, and he said, yeah, they're burying Bayley. Obviously, Hug Nation didn't really kick off like they thought it would, and she's out of there. But I mean, when you got Charlotte, ugh.
Wait, Q-Bot, do you know what we're talking about when we're laughing?
About Charlotte?
Yes.
I don't know, but I can assume many different things.
There was leaked new photos of Charlotte.
Yeah, okay. I didn't see those. I had no interest in seeing those.
Don't.
Let's just say
don't.
It's not much to the imagination right there. In fact, you'll be highly disappointed.
Not only is it not much to the literally, you'll throw up every time you mention her name. I mean, even when I'm in Raleigh right now and I say I'm thinking about going to Charlotte,
I mean, you're a better man than I am.
Oh my God!
I heard about those, and I was like, I'm gonna let them be an ancient relic.
Yes, but Bayley definitely did get buried. I'm actually surprised how they haven't really done anything with Mickie James, as well as some of the other divas. I mean, I feel like the diva brand has been buried since the Diva Revolution.
Well, I don't think it's called Divas at all anymore. It's just called the Women's Revolution and the Women's Division.
Well, the Women's Division as a whole has been really buried.
Well, the Women's Division just has no spark at
maybe
all.
When Ember,
no one's out there just trying to take it.
Maybe when Asuka and Ember Moon come up, it'll be a little different. It's such a weird thing because you always hear about people sleeping their way to the top and things like that.
Alexis Bliss.
Oh God! And I was just about to give her credit until you said
fired.
That. Oh God! But Alexa Bliss, at least her character is believable, and it's a pretty solid character. She wrestles better than the Bella Twins, I'll say.
Yeah,
I would love
up until probably this past year with Nikki, she definitely improved a lot.
I would have loved to seen her versus Charlotte, but they kind of took that away from us.
I think that makes booking that match really hard.
Of course, but it would have just been good to see it.
Because at least with Bayley, like, it's Bayley, oh, blah, 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 hugs. Yeah, just Just kill her. Kill her with a kendo stick. Kill her with
But
fire.
I think they wanted her to be more aggressive, but she's so nice, similar to Apollo Crews. Like even though you're supposed to be mad, you're still smiling, and
Or you're trying to
still
sell a leg injury and you're still
right.
smiling while
You're
writhing
still
in pain.
smiling. Yes, exactly. But I'm trying to think of who else could be buried here. I mean, when you think about it, the one person that I'm not sure of, and I'm going to throw this out there, and you guys just let me know. Even though he's still in the middle of the pack, I feel like Kevin Owens might be getting buried.
Really?
Yeah, I think the way they booked him, I don't think he'll get pushed back up. I think he'll be.
I think you're being premature with that one.
See, I don't know. Because all it takes is 1 or 2 more matches for him to be kind of pushed around, and he'll be right there in a comical relief session of some sort.
Well,
and he'll be done.
Well, here's why I said that. The same issue with Kevin Owens happened on Raw before he became the Universal Champion.
Sure. But that, you mean when Triple H came out and did what he did for him to see? That alone is very again. Now think about what I said earlier.
I'm thinking
had Roman Reigns had Triple H helped Roman Reigns earlier in his career, it would have helped him. But the fact that they did this with Kevin Owens on that particular night, of course we didn't want Roman to win it that night. We didn't want Seth. I mean, we would probably accepted Seth Rollins that night, but it would have been too blah.
Well, I mean that kind of describes Roman's character as a whole. It's just blah, but that goes without saying.
But I just feel like we might have seen Kevin Owens might have plateaued.
He definitely has.
And that means he's on the decline to being buried.
I think he'll have one more push towards the SmackDown title, if not Raw title, if they decide to switch him over again. But then after that, he'll start declining. He'll have one more run towards the top before he starts declining.
With the John Cena stuff, they are getting rid of the whole division of SmackDown and Raw. They're gonna make it all one big thing again. That's the whole start off. John Cena is being pushed as a free agent, so he can go back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. And eventually, they're gonna open it back up because it makes the storylines flow better to have everybody on both things, on both shows. But that's the big rumor.
Yeah, but the problem is we still go back to the main issue of, too many people trying to get screen time, but not enough championships, or it's the same people getting championship opportunities from Roman Reigns.
I agree. And that's the one thing I was saying. I don't feel like they have enough titles to really compete, or to have everybody compete. And that's why I was saying if you move certain people to 205, where they might belong, and make that more popular in that section, and then you bring back, like, I know they have the UK title, but you bring back something like the European. Like, remember when we had the European title, we had the light heavyweight title, cruiserweight title, we had the freaking
hardcore title.
Hardcore title. I mean, they had so many different people fighting for specific belts that it made it easier to hide people. Like you had Hardcore Holly and freaking, Al Snow, and you had, whatever those other guys named, Crash Holly, all these guys going up there fighting for the hardcore title, that you didn't think about those guys and how they should be mid-cutters fighting for, let's say, the European title or the Intercontinental title, because nobody cared because they were in the hardcore race. But now, with the lack of belts, it's like everybody's kind of like in a list together, and it's like, today, you're going to go for the Intercontinental title, you're going to go for the heavyweight title, but tomorrow I'm going to make you lose to Lex Luger.
Oh, gosh.
And then you're going to get put in a move that you haven't seen in a long time. Hulk Hogan's going to come out, and he's going to give somebody a big boot and a leg drop, and then he's going to be champion. It just gets to be ridiculous. Because if Goldberg
Straight
can
up
come out, then
WrestleMania 9 right there, sir.
because if Goldberg can come out, then Hogan can come out at any time. Okay, I just want you to know that. But obviously, I don't want to get too far from the list. That sounded like 3 people. I'm putting Kevin Owens out there, but it sounds like I'm being premature. I can accept that. But who's your 4th person, sir?
My 4th person, as far as people getting buried, that's a great question. I think that's number 4.
That was number 4.
Yeah, that was number 4. We got one more.
One more then. The last one. And it could be an easy one. I mean, we could see the reemergence of a Marty Jannetty and, Big Cass getting a push. Maybe Enzo disappears.
But that's not really him being buried. That's more of a, we know this is going to happen and Enzo's going to end up just being a manager. So, I mean, that doesn't really count.
Or a spokesman for KFC.
The Georgia Gold, little lady.
Just saying. But if somebody's going to get buried, who's it going to be?
I mean, they've already buried.
I mean, yeah, I'm about to say, like, who's already buried?
They buried Anderson and Gallows, which I'm super disappointed because they were so dope in New Japan.
Thank you,
they come over.
Because I was thinking them, but I didn't know who to say. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they were dope.
They just didn't fit. They just didn't fit. Like,
well, no, they don't fit. Like, they got the Hardy Boys to come over without the broken gimmick, and they gave the Hardy Boys the titles. But like, when when Luke Gallows and Anderson came over, they became tag team champions. They were running stuff. Like, they were having a good run, and for whatever reason, they were so urged to bring the Hardy Boys over, which I wouldn't have bought them without the broken gimmick because that's what they're worth. Nobody wants to see Team Extreme Hardy.
Right.
We all want to see everybody, the dream matches. This is why I said they should have kept the Wyatt family together. We all want to see the broken gimmick versus Bray Wyatt. That's what we're here for. Absolutely. And I want to see the broken gimmick verse and there's a whole bunch of weirdness. That's what we were here for. We're not going to get that right now. We're not going to get it anytime soon.
Right. And
so they brought him over, right? They won. They got him over by winning the titles at WrestleMania, and now they lost the titles to Sheamus and Cesaro. So now you have to re-push Anderson and Gallows when they probably should have never lost the titles, and that whole thing made them look stupid and made them look less powerful, and so now they're buried. They go from being complete badasses and a part of like the best wrestling faction in the world to 2 goofballs who don't even get to walk down the aisle. They just pop up in the ring now.
Absolutely. And that's why I never understood, and I was almost positive that they were going to try to do a faction in the WWE. I don't know if they would have the rights to do a Bullet Club, but they could have done a faction.
They can do a Balor Club because Finn Balor has a Balor Club thing, and they could do it because they're all on Raw. And it's at this point in time, you're going to create the storyline for that would seem so inorganic. That moment when they had Finn Balor came by when AJ was still on Raw, that'd been the perfect time to do some kind of Bullet Club action. But they dropped the ball. Yeah.
So. Absolutely. So we're going with the Baldy brothers.
Yeah, I mean,
buried.
Just thinking back to all their incredible matches they had in New Japan. I mean, they really put their names out there, and now they just look like the Bushwhackers.
They do. They look foolish out there.
And that's terrible.
It is terrible because Carl Anderson, prior to coming to WWE, was one of my favorite wrestlers, and I was really hyped that he was coming to WWE because I figured he's really a more athletic version of Arn Anderson. Yeah, I would love to see a 4-person faction similar to the 4 Horsemen in the Balor Club. When you say, all right, AJ, Finn Balor, Luke, Gallows, and Anderson, that's as close to the 4 Horsemen as you're going to get in terms of guys who can all wrestle, who have different move sets, who bring different levels of charisma and different things together. And it'll be so great to see that. And WWE is like, oh, you want to see that? Okay, so you're never going to see it. Like, and that's just
right.
Their MO.
It's like the Geico commercial with the fisherman. Oh, you gotta be faster than that.
You
You're not gonna get
almost,
this.
you're almost there. But obviously, this came from John Cena. Obviously, John Cena still has a lot of pull. He's going to be bouncing back and forth between Raw and SmackDown, where he's going to be the torch passer and also the person holding the shovel to bury people. Um, it's kind of weird because when you think about Triple H being in the driver's seat to some extent, him usually being the barrier, it's kind of weird to see how a top star like John Cena, and of course we all heard people like Randy Orton also burying people, but it's kind of interesting to see somebody who has so much clout that they can bury and pass the torch, probably within the same night. Probably within the same night.
Yeah.
So, so that's it. I mean, we went through the torch passing. We went through the burying. Um, do we have any final thoughts? I mean, we talked about a lot. We went over the NBA recap, the legacies of Kevin Durant and LeBron James, torch passing and burying. Any final thoughts for this, the 58th edition of Debate Amongst Friends?
Yes, Q-Mark, do you have anything you want to tell the people?
I have nothing. I think I've given you guys. This is my flu game. I'm giving you guys everything. That's Scotty Pippen character.
John Gotti?
I mean, I do have a final thought, but it's more of a sombering final thought. Definitely want to, myself and the rest of the people here at Debates Among Friends, want to give our condolences out to the family of Adam West. If people who don't know, Adam West, who was the original live-action Batman, passed away at the age of 88. Definitely iconic as far as the series itself. I mean, looking at it now, he wasn't the best Batman, but he was definitely the OG Batman, and still providing great voiceovers for shows like Family Guy, and just still showing the same charisma and charm that he has for just so many different years. So just give my condolences out there.
This is a rough one because this is the second week where we ended on a somber note. But I mean, we're real people, we're real issues, and clearly we're going to report the real final thoughts, and I appreciate that, sir.
Absolutely.
There are two things that I would like to give for the final thoughts. Number one, we're finally supposedly going to get Conor and Mayweather August 26th, they're saying. So obviously we're going to see how that goes.
For those that know where I can go watch that for free without having to spend almost $100, please let me know. At Ken86.
Ken86. And myself at TL Double. I would love to have this discussion on Twitter, on Facebook, or wherever, as Kevin Durant said that Kyrie had some better skills than Iverson. I would love to hear other thoughts on that. Hit me on the Twitter sphere at TL Double, or if you're on my friends list on Facebook, please. I would love to hear thoughts on that. KD said Kyrie had better skills than Iverson.
Yeah, Doc, you should probably post that somewhere.
I think I will. I will. But I think that's it. I'm actually going to post it right now.
All right. Well, before you do that, sir, do you want to introduce tonight's track?
Absolutely. So I found this track by Dizzy Wright called Untouchable. Great sounding track, great lyricist based on some of the information that I seen on most of his music, as well as this particular track. I do hope that you enjoy this song.
Thank you very much, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate all the support. Be sure to follow us at Debates Among Friends on Twitter. You know I'm always gonna do it, and then you're gonna start doing it. We're gonna have Q-Mart doing it. Senor October,
God.
the Sergeant. Like, it's gonna become a household name. Also help support the show by purchasing or looking at our t-shirt collection on teesprings.com/store/debates among friends. All spelled out, one word, no spaces, no underscores. And we'll leave you with tonight's track. Catch us again, same podcast time, same podcast channel. Peace and love.
Deuces.
Yeah. Turn my mic up a little bit. Right back, boy. Yeah. Hey yo, whose arm is this? I guess Slim cut it off at the pharmacist. We murdering MCs, then flee to wherever the Bahamas is. I blew up, so that should let y'all know just who the bombers is. Cause I can see the future like my glasses Nostradamus is. Damn these rappers and they feelings like an orthodontist. It's probably cause my skin is white, come on, be more than honest. I signed a deal with Def Jam, cause I'm the man. These fucking sorters and conners, yo. Hey yo, my city behind us. I know that you see that the murdering sinners all up in it when I rhyme this. My flow is impeccable, hella unbreakable, no way nobody else on it. So let me slow it down. Yo, let me slow it down. Check it, hey yo, hey, let me slow it down. So these ignorant people hear me. Even my favorite MCs won't get near me, cause they fear me, revere me. No disrespect, I mean that shit sincerely. I am merely the second renaissance to the fullest. It's all love from up above. Keep a gat in the glove just in case. Introduce you to Christ like Mace, like nah. All of y'all know that logic keep the peace, but my brothers keep a peace in the streets. You gotta capiche. See, that's a life I never wanted, but I grew up in and did a lot of dumb shit I never do again. What?
Flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. The flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. The flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. Fuck with the style. Funk vibe. Pro era. Funk volume. Fuck with the style.
Mass killing MCs. I'm your dad and nothing less than a scene. Please, you can't rock with me, so and I still got Jedi view. Pray that the force be with you all in this general bleed. Don't retaliate. When I retaliate, already won. I terrorize the skies and probably just making my son washed up. You're dowling early. It's the same simple story, but in this category, you're messing with me. Brethren, in the free spirit, hear it in every lyric. Something I'm trying to satiric, every post pivot. Niggas is pretentious. I don't pretend shit. Penny for your thoughts, man. Tell him what his senses. I sense I know fear in this race. My object's so clear. Whatever floats your boat is probably what's said by your peers. This is the fruit of my label. Call me unstable. Hold your horses, ain't nothing but fables. What's the fucking deal if there's no labels? Any enemy, I already decapitate him. Can't compute this picture. Already just mainframe him. So whose head is this? This is the rhyming fucking specialist ahead of the game. Like Allah, stay perpetuous.
Flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. The flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. The flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. Fuck with the style. Funk vibe. My pro era. Funk volume. Fuck with the style. Hey, yo, whose leg is this? I'm stretching it until it breaks. We sending messages, scraping off the complexion on your face, past the medicine. Landed, never stranded in your state, couple demands. But my lovely fans will never make me wait. You get the memo. The intro with some logic for your mental. Lyrically complex for the temple. You niggas simple. Taking over, y'all should consider taking our instrumentals just to prove that y'all can rap. Or move the fuck back, we on fire. That Illuminati talk is getting tired. I mean, the fact I'm this far should tell you I follow what I desire. I'm the man. The land of the snakes, I do what I can. I have king symptoms. You just look on phonics with your friends, got that living in ID. Your flow ain't acceptable, nigga. We coming up so we can kill everybody. We headed, you better dead it before we catch you when you be out in your Bugatti. Nah, that nigga ain't nobody. He sloppy. Lollygagging with the bandwagon posse. Use a hoe. Pussy dry, you ain't cleaned it in months. Preaching that teamwork makes the dream work from the jump. Chump, the homeless man is eating rappers for lunch. Your blood to back it up. I hope that I ain't asking for much. What? The flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. The flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. The flow trustable, sick and it's untouchable. Fuck with the style. Funk vibe. Pro era.